There comes a point in life when pretending that everything is fine starts to be even more daunting and exhausting than just telling the truth. And for many women, that time comes once you reach 50 and beyond. And I know for me, one of the first things that comes to mind along those lines is that pressure we put on ourselves to always be strong and everything's fine. People ask us, how's it going? Oh, great. How are you? Oh, I'm wonderful, blessed and highly favored. And the whole time we could be running on fumes, our heart could be breaking, and we just put on this front like everything's fine, everything's perfect. And we wear it as a badge of honor, or at least wore it as a badge of honor, because I don't do that anymore. Now, I'm not saying that every time a stranger on the street says, how are you, or how's your day, I'm going to just unload. But I'm just saying, like, when my girlfriends call and they're like, hey, how's it going? Girl, I'm struggling today. Today's not a good day. When my sister calls me, I'll be like, girl, I'm going through today. And I don't care anymore about being strong. And I thought about it. I'm like, what does being strong even mean? So when I think about being strong, in my mind, that means like you're able to lift heavy things. You're able to like endure, and like, do I even want to do that? Like, I don't want to be lifting heavy stuff. I don't want to, have to be able to endure. And another thing is like talking about being resilient. I'm so resilient. Like, no, I don't want to be bouncing back. I am not a Timex watch. I don't want to take a licking and keep on ticking. And so once I got to be 50 and beyond, I just started being more honest about how I feel and letting some of that stuff go, because when we're pretending to be strong, that's exactly what we're doing. We're pretending. And so on the surface, it appears that everything is okay, but the foundation is full of cracks. And so what I've learned is when I am honest and I just let it go, and I tell my sister and my friends and my husband, like, look, I'm not okay. I seem to be able to get through things a lot quicker because then I have support. Then I have people who realize that I'm under pressure, that I'm in need. And so they're not piling more on me, and it just works. And I really don't care what anybody thinks. I used to not want anyone to think I was weak. And it's like, no, it's not being weak when you have real, true feelings. And if someone judges you because you're having a bad day, because you're having a bad week, maybe having a bad year, if they judge that as being weak, then that's on them. And why am I caring what somebody like that thinks anyway? And so I know for me, that whole facade of being strong is just not a thing. Like, I am not someone who is just going to crumble the second things aren't going my way. However, I do allow myself to process my emotions now. I am in touch with myself, and I decide, look, am I going to keep taking this, or am I going to call in for some backup? I no longer feel that I have to suffer in silence. And that used to be a thing that I did. And again, I was kind of proud of that. Like, I don't tell anybody anything. That's silly. I ain't doing that no more. Something else that I think about, like along those same lines, that we are no longer pretending, is that we struggle with mental health issues. And I feel as though if we're really honest about it, all of us have some kind of mental health issue that we deal with, whether it's something that we have to think about and manage on a daily basis, or if it's something like maybe seasonal depression, or maybe it's panic and anxiety, whatever it is, we deal with it. And at this age, we're not afraid to say that. Like, I have no problem anymore telling people that I deal with panic and anxiety disorder. It's something I used to try to hide. Like my family didn't even realize that I had panic attacks, because I was the type of person that when I did feel anxiety, when I did feel a panic attack going on, I would just withdraw. I would be by myself, suffering in silence, going through all the things, feeling like my heart was about to pound out of my chest, feeling like I was about to pass out any moment, and I wouldn't tell anybody. And that is not healthy. And so now I will tell my husband at the drop of a dime, I'm like, you know what, babe, I feel a panic attack coming on. Babe, I'm feeling some kind of way and I really don't know why. And it helps me because now I have somebody who's going to talk me through it. Someone who is going to try to get my mind off of it, make me laugh, help me do some breathing exercises. And I don't feel weak or less than because of it. And he was like one of the first people that I was ever just honest with about that. Like, look, I suffer from panic and anxiety. And there are times when I know exactly what brings the panic attack on. And there are other times when I have no idea. Like I will feel like I'm perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden I just get this wave of some sort of feeling where it literally takes my breath away. And I'm almost in terror in that moment. And I really don't even know why. And I used to deal with that all by myself. And so now I'm just like, look, it is what it is. I have been dealing with this like all of my life. I haven't been able to figure it out on my own. So why am I continuing to try? And it's probably something that I will deal with the rest of my life, but I ain't going to deal with it by myself, because something else I realized is, what's the point in having a spouse, a partner, really good friends, a sister, whatever, if you can't share those things? Like that's what those people are there for. And I don't know why it took me so long to realize that. And I know a part of it is the fear of being judged and, you know, people thinking you're crazy, you're nuts, like what's wrong with you? Or people saying there is nothing wrong with you, like you're dramatic. And those are the kind of things I think I was trying to avoid and why I didn't share. And then also because of the first thing I talked about, I thought it was going to make me weak. And I really, really, really put so much on being strong. Like that was a huge part of my identity. And so it was like, yeah, I can't tell people that I'm having panic and anxiety attacks because I'm the tough one, but I'm not pretending anymore. And it's so liberating. Let me see. Y'all know I got notes, always have notes. And this is why I have notes, because of the next thing, that we're not pretending anymore. We are not pretending that menopause is not a thing. And it is about more than just hot flashes and night sweats. Menopause is the thing that makes me have to have these notes every time I sit down and talk to y'all. I don't have notes because I don't know what I want to talk about. I don't have notes because I'm just doing a video on the fly. I have notes because sometimes my mind just draws a blank. And I know when I first started dealing with that, I was so nervous. I literally went into my doctor's office to have an Alzheimer's testing, a neurological test, because I really thought that I was dealing with early onset Alzheimer's, because it was just like out of the clear blue. I can't remember anything. What do they call it? CRS? Can't remember shit, right? That was me. I remember my grandmother saying that. I couldn't remember anything, and it was becoming more frequent. Like I had times before where I would maybe walk into a room and not remember, but within like 10 seconds, it would dawn on me. No, it was getting to the point where I would walk into a room with haste, knowing that there was something I needed to do that was relatively urgent. Like I'm coming in here to get something that I need right now. And halfway there, like, where am I going and why? It was menopause. Your hormones are all over the place. I did not realize how much estrogen does for us, for our brain function, for all of that. And so as it gets lower, those things start to change. And so I'm like, no, I'm not pretending anymore that I'm not going through menopause. I'm not pretending anymore that I'm not changing. Like my sons know, it's so funny. I wish I had it with me. and I'm going to link it below, but my youngest son gave me this like high power handheld fan. So I had all of these little fans. I'm going to make sure I'm going to put a picture too of it so y'all can see, and then I'll drop it in link below. But he gave it to me for my birthday, for Christmas. And he's like, here, Mom, maybe this will help you with your menopause. And I'm like, yeah, because they know. And I'm like, thank you very much. And it's like better than the ones I had. This thing is like a little AC, and it has several different levels, and I rarely ever have to go past level 1 on it. But I pull it out. I'll be out to dinner with people. I'm not pretending. I am a woman of a certain age. I'm going through things. I'm not embarrassed. I pull out my fan, and every single time we're somewhere and I pull it out, somebody's like, oh my gosh, where'd you get that? I need to order it. And then when I see other women struggling, I'm like, here you go. But it's about more than that. And I'm living out loud with my menopause. Menopause will cause you to go through depression, possibly when you never have before. It can change your skin. It can change your body chemistry, how you smell, your weight, like all different things. And you know what? Every single time I have a new menopause symptom, I'm talking about it. I'm telling my husband, like, look, this is what menopause is doing to me today. I got up this morning and the Meg Thee Stallion knees are gone. And I've had to educate him on menopause and what we go through. Like, it's a real thing. And I love the fact that my husband is willing to learn about that stuff and research. And that's the thing, having a support system and not trying to go through everything on your own. Back to one, being strong is just so important. And I'm not trying to hide it anymore. I'm not ashamed of it. I actually have learned to be grateful for menopause. And before y'all look at me crazy, what I'm saying is I'm someone who had a full hysterectomy at 35. And I did not start getting symptoms of menopause until I was about 50. Like earlier, I had like a couple of times where I woke up in the cold sweats and whatever, but then it would be months before it would happen again. But to have symptoms and noticing things like on a regular basis, it just started happening to me. So for that, I'm grateful, because having a full hysterectomy at 35, I could have literally woken up from my anesthesia in full-blown menopause. So whenever it really starts to get me, whenever I start feeling sorry for myself, whenever I start getting super frustrated, I realize, you know what, girl, be grateful. You're 54. You could have already at this point been 20 years into this, because there are some people who go through menopause for that long. And so I am grateful, and that's just what kind of keeps my mindset where it needs to be, so I'm not, harping on it and just, feeling bad and getting down, because it is what it is, right? What can we do? It's a part of life, and we all know the alternative, and I'm not ready for that yet, but I'm no longer pretending. Yes, I'm a woman of a certain age. I'm going through menopause. I have brain fog. I have hot flashes. Sometimes I'm a little irritable. It is what it is. So that's why I need these notes. Another thing that we don't have to pretend about anymore, or I'm not pretending about anymore, is the fact that dealing with aging parents is a real thing, and it's stressful. Your parents are in a different phase of their life than they've ever been in before. However, you are as well, right? And so you're dealing with these people who are dealing with even more differences in who they are, and starting to come to terms with their own mortality, losing their independence. And then you're struggling with the things like menopause and whatever. And so it can be very, very challenging. You're having to now be responsible for people again when you may have just entered that phase of your life where you're an empty nester and you have adult children who are pretty self-sufficient, which that's a whole nother thing that we're not pretending about either, because being parents to adult children is not always easy. You have to learn that harmony. When do I step in as a parent? When do I let them make their own mistakes? When do I learn to just release any control? They're adults. And so it's really weird. So you have, and people are living longer. And so you have multiple generations still cohabiting together, working together, and it's a lot to deal with. And so me as the mom to the adult children, the daughter to the aging parents, plus I am a menopausal woman, it's stressful. And it's okay to say that it's stressful. We are here to help one another and to honor our parents and to do the things, but it doesn't mean that we always have to do it and just like, oh, I don't have a care in the world. Oh, it's just fine. It's okay to complain sometimes. It's okay to say that you're tired. It's also okay to set boundaries with your aging parents, because for me and most of us, this tribe, our parents are baby boomers. They're from a different era, and they believe still that they are parents of children, and they don't always respect us as adults. They don't respect our time. They think that they're supposed to come first, and they brought us into this world and we owe it to them to do. And my thing is, look, yes, you had me. You raised me. You put food on my table, shelter over my head, and for that I am appreciative. Clothes on my back. However, you don't own me, and I don't owe you my entire life, but I am going to do whatever I can within my power to make sure that you have what you need, that you have quality of life. But that doesn't mean that every time you ring my phone, I have to drop everything to be there, that I have to listen to every single thing that you have to say. Like, it's okay. It's about harmony. It's about boundaries, but it's difficult. And we don't have to pretend that it isn't. We don't have to pretend that it's a joy. And everyone doesn't have the same relationship with their parents. That's something that people say all the time. You should be happy that you still have parents to take care of. And not to say that anybody wishes they didn't have their parents, but relationships are just different. And so that judgment, and I think that's why we have done so much pretending for so long, is because we're afraid of the judgment, and people have this expectation that everything is supposed to be roses all the time, and it's not. And like I said, and with the adult children, it's the same way. You have to just kind of find your way, because everyone, as we get older, every day in your life, you are someone who you've never been before, right? We have not been able to go ahead and see what the finish line is going to be. What is the end of the story? How are things? Like, we're all just doing our best to make it through the best way we know how. And we need to be able to show each other grace. And if we were able to show a little more grace and not pass so much judgment, then people wouldn't spend so much of their time pretending. And I'm just so glad that I'm at a point in my life, finally, at this big age where, yeah, I'm not pretending anymore. If it's a bad day, it's a bad day. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. If I think it's too much for me, then it's too much for me. If I need to rest, I'm going to rest. And I'm not going to pretend. We also, a lot of times in this phase of our life, start pretending that it's not bothering us, that we maybe have not achieved everything in our life that we wanted to achieve. We pretend that, we're fine, we're satisfied, we have no regrets. I'm not one who believes in regrets. I don't like to harp on things, but I can acknowledge that I have some. There are some woulda, shoulda, couldas in my life, and it's okay, because if my life would have gone exactly the way I had wanted it to go, then that would have meant it would be perfect. And so that is not realistic. And so I don't pretend anymore that I don't have any things that I wish I would have done differently. And I do realize that by not pretending, it can also help someone else who is maybe struggling in certain points or parts of their life. A lot of us at this age are losing our careers, losing our jobs. We maybe did not prepare for this time of our life as best as we could have. And we don't need to pretend that we did. Seek help. There are resources out there. That's another thing about pretending. When you pretend that everything is okay, I'm financially stable, I made all the right choices, everything is great, I don't want anyone to know that I have any struggle, then you limit yourself from the help that you can get. Again, I'm not saying shout it from the rooftop, But let somebody know when you're struggling. Let somebody know if there are some bad decisions that you've made along the lines that have put you in maybe a difficult spot, because someone may be able to be a resource for you. Someone may be able to point you in the direction where you can start to get things on the right track. And so all pretending does is keeps you in a space where you're going to have to continue to pretend and nothing is going to get any better. And so, yeah, once you reach a certain age, it's just like, look, it is what it is. I wasn't always as wise and knowledgeable as I am today, but at some point, we all made decisions when we were younger that still affect us today. And we don't have to pretend that we didn't. And I just love the fact that it can help someone else. I don't mind allowing other people the opportunity to learn from my mistakes. I did not always make the right choices. I did not always do what was best for myself. Now, what I can say is whenever I was making these choices and doing whatever I was doing, I thought it was the best for me at the time. And that's the thing. My husband says all the time, you never have age and wisdom at the same time, right? And so when you're younger, you think you know everything, and then when you get older, you realize you didn't know anything, and we're still learning. And I'm not pretending that anymore. My life was not perfect, and no one's was. And so let me see, what else did I want to talk about? I think that was pretty much it. I think that was it. So it's just so funny. The moment that you realize that you can stop pretending, there is such a weight that's lifted from you. And then you also realize when you start having real conversations with the people who are the most important in your life, they knew you were pretending the whole time. You're usually not telling them anything that they didn't realize. And so the only person you were fooling was you. And so it's usually like, yeah, I knew you were struggling. Yeah, I knew something was going on. I knew you needed help. So it's silly to keep pretending. And so hopefully something that I said has triggered something in you. And I know I'm talking to a lot of seasoned women, but we all still struggle from time to time. I can't tell you that I have this all down pat and it's perfect, because there are still days when I kind of catch myself and I'm like, you know what? I don't have to pretend anymore. Let me just be real honest. Yeah, things ain't that hot, or no, I don't want to do that. But we have conditioned responses because we've been doing certain things for a long time. And so you have to start being intentional when you want to kind of take off the mask and be who you are. But you also do want to be careful. Use that discernment. You don't need everybody in your business, but find that tribe, those safe places, that soft place to land, and take the mask off. Be you, do you all the time, 100% of the time. And it feels a lot better, because when you are trying to keep up appearances, it's exhausting. And like I said in the beginning, way more exhausting than just telling the truth. Hiding makes you hold your breath. Telling the truth lets you exhale. Because whenever you're hiding and trying to keep up a lie, it tenses you up and you have to always be on your toes. But when you just tell the truth, you're able to exhale. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for being here. If you have been here till the end, please drop a brown heart emoji in the comments so that I'll know that you stayed until the end. And then I want to chat about it in the comments. What are you no longer pretending about? What are you just letting go? And also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and become a permanent part of this tribe, and then hit that notification bell so that you never miss any content. And I'm sure you probably have some women in your life who could benefit from being a part of this tribe. So you know what else I'm going to ask you? Share it with them as well. And you all know the drill. I love each and every one of you to bits and pieces. Always be kind and love one another, but don't forget to live your life. LYFE. Love yourself first explicitly. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.